Just landed in Las Vegas. We made it. I was actually late to the party when I first boarded. I was in the A group, but they were already boarding Bs when I got there, so I was like, oh crap. But other than that, smooth flight. It was only about an hour and 15 minutes. It's a good thing about living in New Mexico, it's like right there. Nevada's right there. So, and it's actually an hour, like the time, it's an hour before. So left at 6:05, got here at 6:20. So not too bad. But we're gonna head to the hotel, see if we can get a ride, Uber, Lyft, whatever. But yeah, let's see what shenanigans we can get into. At 7 o'clock in the morning, but again, was expected. So what does a poker player do at 7 o'clock in the morning? They try to find a game. So we're gonna, I don't know, try to find a game somewhere. Do not know where we're gonna be, where we're gonna end up, but yeah, let's see. If you guys don't already know by the walk, we're here at the Bellagio, our first of many stops in this poker room throughout the trip. It was around 8 a.m. by the time I arrived, and on a Tuesday morning there wasn't many games. There was only one game going, and it was a 1-3. So we put our name on the list, doesn't take long, and we take our seat. There's a 300 max buy-in, and we're ready to rock and roll. First hand we get involved in, we look down at ace-jack offsuit on the button, folds around to the hijack, he makes it 15, cutoff calls, and in position we make it 45. On to him, he calls, so heads up to the flop, and the flop comes queen of diamonds, 9 of hearts, 8 of spades, so we have 1 over and a gut shot straight draw. He checks to me, I c-bet 35, and when it's on to him, he raises to an absurd amount, 200, basically putting me all in. And not really trying to get it all in with a gut shot, so we fold. This next hand, we're in the cutoff. We have king of hearts, queen of clubs. The middle position makes it 15. Guy to his left makes the call. And I actually misclick here. I meant to make it 65, but I didn't pick up another green chip, so it was only 40. And for that price, they're not going anywhere, so they both make the call relatively quickly. The flop comes 10 high, 10-7-4 rainbow. When they check to me, I'm not trying to bluff into 2 other opponents, so I just check back. 3 ways to a turn. It is the queen of hearts, which is a great card, gives us top pair, king kicker. And I'm thinking of my bet size, but before I can do that, the guy first to act actually leads for 75. And to this bet, the guy to his left folds. I ask for a count, and I make the call for 75. Heads up to a turn. The turn is a blank, it's a 5 of diamonds. And without giving it much thought, he jams for my effective stack, 180. And this guy didn't look like the bluffing type, so I just fold pretty quickly. He doesn't show, so we'll never know. So far, haven't got much going, so we top off another $200, and we're in for 500 at this point. In this hand, the low jack makes it 15, the high jack makes the call, and we look down at a premium ace-king offsuit. So in the big blind, we squeeze to 50. The original raiser calls, and the hijack makes the call. So 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes Queen 4-7 rainbow. Not much going for us. I mean, we do have 2 overs, but we have all the aces and kings in our range, so we make a very small C bet of 25, and they both make the call. The turn is a 10 of diamonds, brings in the backdoor flush draw. We still only have 2 overs, but now we have a gut shot. Any jack gives us Broadway for the nuts. And there's about $150 in the pot, and we only have about $140 behind, so really not much decision. We jam it all in, and they both fold relatively quickly. We take down our first pot of the session. In the very next shuffle, we have Queen Jack offsuit in the small blind. It's a limp pot, so we throw in the extra $2, and the big blind checks his option, so we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is a good one. It comes queen high. We check out of position, hoping somebody's going to bet, but unfortunately they don't, and everyone checks around. So still 4 ways to a turn. Doesn't seem like anybody's interested in the hand, so when it comes a brick, we throw out $10. And only late position makes the call. So heads up to a river. The river's another brick. So on this card, we decide to check, hoping he's going to bet, fire out with complete air or some missed draws, which he does. He bets out $20. We happily make the call. We show our hand, and we're good. At this point, a few more people trickle into the poker room, and they get enough players for a 2-5 game. We lose about $80 in this 1-3 game, but looking to turn that around in this new 2-5 game. The max buy-in for this game is $500, so that's what we do. We sit down with $500 and shuffle up and deal. Don't have to wait too long. About 3 hands in, we have pocket 9s in the cutoff. The under the gun makes it $10. Me and the button make the call. 9s are kind of like that middle ground where you can 3-bet, but sometimes it's better just to try to set mine. I mean, it is early in this session, so just go that lower variance route and try to set mine. The flop is clean. It's queen, queen 2 rainbow. The initial raiser makes it 15. I call, and the button folds. The turn is an 8 of diamonds, brings in the backdoor flush draw, but another card lower than our pair. She continues, this time for $30, but when she bets, she actually puts in a black chip. And in my experience, using higher denomination chips with a lower denomination bet is trying to represent strength, but is actually a weaker hand. They're just trying to scare you off using the bigger chips. So I asked how much it actually was. It was $30. So for that price, I make the call. Still heads up to a river. The river is another 2, double pairing the board. This time she slows down, she checks. And knowing I have the best hand, thinking that she would most likely bet with anything beating me, I decide on a sizing of a little over half pot, just trying to get a crying call from ace high, maybe even king high. She thinks for a little bit. She does call. We show our 9s, and we're good. This hand gets a little interesting. The middle position makes it 15. The guy next to act makes the call. And we look down at ace-9 of hearts in the hijack. And we decide to 3-bet, we make it 60. Folds to the initial raiser, who makes the call. The guy next to act, getting a good price, makes the call as well. So 3 ways in position to a flop of king of diamonds, 4 of diamonds, 3 of clubs. Absolutely nothing going on for me in this hand. But when they check to me, I still decide to c-bet, make it 50, about a third pot. And they both make the call. So at this point, I am so done putting money in this hand. That is until the turn comes an ace. But it's an ace of diamonds, so there are 3 diamonds now on board. So even though we have top pair, we kind of have to tread lightly. But they check to me, as expected. And I think about putting more money in case they have a single diamond holding. But I don't really need to bloat this pot any more than I already have. So I decided to check back. So still 3 ways to a river. The river is another 3. It's a 3 of hearts. So it pairs the bottom card. And I think if they had a flush at this point, I would definitely hear from them. But they decide to check to me. And with my top pair, I decide to make it 100 to try to get some thin value. But when I do this, the initial raiser makes the call, which I'm a little nervous about. And the guy next to act folds. And not expecting to win, we flip over our hand. And we do, it's good. And we'll never know what that opponent had. So we take this next hand, we have pocket 10s in the small blind. The middle position makes it 15. The hijack calls. And kind of like the first hand with the pocket 9s, out of position, I guess you can 3-bet, which I probably should have because you don't want to go multi-way with only pocket 10s. But again, lower variance route, we just smooth call, and the big blind makes the call as well. So 4 ways to a flop of jack, 3, 2, all diamonds. We do have the 10 of diamonds, which helps a little. Checks to the initial raiser in middle position, and he bets 70, making it almost a pot-sized bet. The guy next to act cold calls. I was going to call one time, but because the guy cold called and I still have the big blind next to act, I decide just to lay it down. But the big blind folds and the turn was another jack. The initial raiser jams all in. And the hijack folds. We'll never know what the initial raiser had. This hand, we're in middle position with queen, jack of diamonds. 1 limper to me, and we make it 20. And 1 by 1, we get 5 callers. So looking for some help on the flop, which we kind of get. Comes queen high, 2 hearts. It's checked to me. I c-bet my top pair for 50. This older gentleman to my direct left cold calls, and everyone else folds. Heads up to a turn, which is a board pairing 8 of diamonds. I put this gentleman on a flush draw, so I continue and make it 75. He just calls, so still heads up to a river, and the river is a 9 of hearts. So some straights get there, and the obvious front door flush gets there. I check, expecting him to bet, but he checks back, flips over his cards, and to my surprise, he has ace, queen offsuit. When he shows this, I kind of chuckled to myself, thinking if he would have 3-bet in position pre-flop, could have played a much bigger hand, but kind of glad he didn't. Good hand, sir. This next hand is a doozy. We look down at a premium ace-king offsuit in the small blind. There's 1 limper under the gun 2. When it folds around to the button makes it 20. There's no way I'm just smooth calling this 20, so gonna bump it up. We 3-bet squeeze to 65. The limper makes the call, and the guy who originally raised on the button jams his whole stack in for about $160. So absolute dream spot for me. I mean, other than being out of position, but it reopens the action for us. We look over at the limper stack, and he has about $450, $480 behind. So we think about it for a little bit, like what's the right sizing? And I come up with the conclusion that we're just gonna put max pressure, put him all in for his remaining stack. It works for a little bit, he hums and haws, but eventually he makes the call. So three-way all in to a run out, which comes jack high, which we're not happy about because we're just sitting with ace high, ace king high. We flip over our cards. The button flips over his cards. We have the exact same hand, ace king. And the limper, who called my all in, has pocket tens. So he wins with pocket tens. I really thought I could squeeze out those kind of hands, eights, nines, tens, jacks, but hey, he made the right call and he won the flip. So nice hand. He takes down about a $1,200 pot. This hand I do not advise, but we're under the gun. We limp for $5 with ace deuce of spades. Seems like everybody wants to limp in this hand because it turns into a six-way limp pot to a flop of 10-5-9 with two spades. So pretty good flop for us. I mean, we have the nut flush draw. So I actually decided to lead for $15 into the field. And the guy to my left next to act, cold three bets to 40. Folds around back to me. It's basically a min click, so I make the call, putting in 25 more. So heads up to a turn. Don't have to wait too long for our flush when it comes the queen of spades. So we have the nuts. So now we're just thinking, how do we get the most amount of money? I decide to check in flow. He bets super small, 20. I contemplate raising, but I'm not really worried about any river cards. And with my stack size not being very big, I just decided to smooth call. So heads up to a river, hoping for a non-pairing board, and it comes just that, it comes the eight of diamonds. So 4 to a straight out there, a lot of two pair combinations. I decide to check in flow once again, and our prayers are answered when he does bet, but he bets super small, he only makes it 35. So I have about 190, maybe $200 in my stack. I think about jamming, but all a jam is really trying to accomplish is to target his lower flushes. If he has two pair, he has a set, or he has a straight, I mean, he's probably gonna fold that. So I decide on a bet of $110, and he calls relatively quickly, so I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't jam, because when I flip over my cards, he shows jack eight of spades, and he did have a smaller flush. Poker's easy when you can see the cards, right?
Played for about 4.5 hours. I think I was up like 300 at the high point, but ended up booking just a $34 win. Named that ace king. Well, we both had ace king, and then the other guy had tens. That one hurt. It was like a 1.2K pot. So I don't know. It was all right. Got a lot of hands in. Got the blood pumping a little bit. Good start to the trip. Dip my feet in, and I don't know. I think I'm gonna go hit a workout and then come back. Who knows? Maybe play some 5-10. We'll see.